Good morning, good afternoon. This is a detailed tropical update on Tropical Depression 13 for September 5th, 2023. As always, my thoughts in this video are mine alone, and making any decisions, please consult the National Hurricane Center and your local officials for the best information for where you're at. So this is going to be a fairly long, detailed video on Tropical Depression 13 as this system is now moving off towards the west-northwest at roughly about 15 to 20 miles an hour. This is a look at the latest true color visible satellite imagery, a zoomed out view, and we can see there is our depression right here. And while it doesn't look very healthy, or it looks fairly healthy, it is expected to become much better organized throughout the day today. And we are expecting for this to explosively intensify by the time we go into the next 2 to 4 days, and eventually it becoming a major hurricane as it nears these islands here towards Puerto Rico, the Virgin and U.S. Virgin Islands as well. This is a closer zoomed in view, and we can see how the system has evolved since last night. We have had kind of anemicness to the convection, some better organization, but since then, if we kind of look at the last few frames here, we can see that the system has developed a more CDO look. If we kind of zoom through here, the satellite's acting up here. This is where we might have our center located, right underneath that deep convection mass, with hints of that there's still some elongatus to this center. But now if we go even a closer zoomed in view so we can look at this a little bit more closely, we could actually see once the sun comes up, we're going to kind of stop it right here. We can see that the system is definitely becoming better organized with winds that are out of the southerly direction on the eastern side. We have winds that are fairly strong on this side of the system, and then winds wrap all the way around on the southern side and the southeastern side. Because the satellite's acting up today, we can't play this through because it will just kind of keep stopping and keep freezing up on me. But you can see where that center actually is located. It is fairly organized, to say the least, with several convective banding features to the south of the system, which usually indicate that the system will soon rapidly intensify in the next couple of days. So now looking at our water vapor imagery, making sure, looking at that, you can clearly see with what we have here. Here is Tropical Depression 13. We do have some dry air that is to the north of the system, and what I mean by that, see this darker patch of gray? It's not as bright as the other areas. That's our drier air that is out ahead of this. Now, the unfortunate thing is, we're not going to see a whole lot of shear with this system to help force that drier air in. In fact, we have more northeasterly shear that's actually allowing the dry air to actually move out ahead of the depression here. So that means significant strengthening with Tropical Depression number 13 is expected in despite of a rather dry environment that surrounds the system. Here's a look at the latest NHC forecast, and right now winds are at 35 miles an hour. That's what you would typically expect on the first advisory, but we are expecting this to get named either by tonight or by tomorrow as a named storm. This will be Lee on our list of named storms, and by Friday and Saturday and Sunday, we're expecting some explosive intensification into a pretty intense Category 4 hurricane. Now, while the center, again, I want to make it clear with you all, that misses these islands, there is that cone of uncertainty that still continues to be over the Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands here. So do not reverse your preparations just yet, all right? Because that edge, the southern edge of that cone here, or that left side we call it, is still over these islands, okay? So, I want to make sure you all are prepared for that. So looking at the latest key messages from Tropical Depression 13, the depression is forecast to become a major hurricane by this weekend and could bring impacts to the Leeward Islands by that time. While it is too soon to determine the location and magnitude of these possible impacts, interests in these area in this area should monitor the progress of the depression and updates to the forecast. So again, It is explicitly shown in here, Leeward Islands by that time. So there could be impacts, and that's why we're not going to ignore this. So looking at the earliest reasonable arrival time of tropical storm force winds, we're looking at anywhere between perhaps Friday morning all the way through Saturday morning across the Lesser Antilles, maybe even the Greater Antilles. And notice there is a non-zero chance of tropical storm force winds. Okay, that's this area. That means there is the potential that there could still be some tropical storm force winds for some of the islands. I know some of you in the chat are going to say, nope, David, it's going out to sea. Do not even worry about this anymore. We cannot assume just because that this is going to miss the islands, that's the actual forecast. This could shift further south. This could shift further north. We just don't know yet, and that's why I'm making these videos as often as I can possible. I might have a special update again tonight on this system if necessary, because there's a lot going on with this system that we really don't know about. So the best that I can do in today's video is I'm going to be looking at the European model. The GFS is more of a low-end forecast. I'm not cherry-picking models. I'm not going to spend 45 minutes in a video showing you every single dingle model. We're going to use the European, the HAFS A model runs, and the HWRF. And then I'm going to show you some new information that I found online that you might also like. So looking at the latest European model, this is simply looking at the 850 millibar level. As always, the atmosphere is three-dimensional, so we have different levels that we look at, and this is one of them at 5,000 feet. This is vorticity. That's the yellow colors. That's what we're looking for here on the map. And the wind barbs, I'm going to be as simple as I can at explaining this because I guess I didn't do a very good job yesterday. So these are wind barbs, okay, and this is showing us the direction at which way the wind is blowing from, and also of intensity. So to put this into simple terms, when a wind barb has one full flag on it, it's 10 knots. If it has two full flags, it's 20 knots. But if it has one long barb, one half barb, that's 15 knots. Okay, and if it has simply one little barb on it, it's 5 knots. So I hope that makes perfect sense for y'all that are wondering. And if we get a flag, a triangle, that's 50 knots. And if we get two triangles, that's 100 knots. Another way to measure wind and direction at the same time. And that's what we're seeing here. Winds are doing this around the circulation. By the way, this is 72 hours out. This is for Thursday afternoon and evening, September the 7th and the 8th. So now, the Euro model is explicitly showing that this is going to become a powerful Category 4, perhaps even a Category 5, and I'll show you more proof of that in just a second, but a very strong system here. Now, again, explicitly shown here, the Euro does indicate that this will not impact the islands. All right, that's assuming based on initial conditions. Models are forecasts and are not the actual, okay, it's going to hit me here, it's going to avoid us. Okay, we're not going to get preparate. Still, okay, have those preparations in place. My job here is to save your guys' life, to make sure you all are prepared for a possible natural disaster. Okay, and so the fact that the Euro does keep this away from the islands, I would not reverse any preparations just yet. Even so, you might think that, oh, this is a fish storm, heck with it. So now, another concerning aspect to this is this could hit Bermuda, and I know it's hard to show Bermuda on this map. It's right here. Actually, let me make the dot a little bit bigger. So there is Bermuda. That's that white dot or black dot that I have. And this could hit Bermuda perhaps at a major hurricane, Category 3, Category 4 intensity. So even so, it does turn out to sea, I guess, off the eastern seaboard. It could also hit Bermuda too. And there's several thousand, or I don't know the exact population, but it's in the thousands, close to 1 million people that live on that island. And so it's going to impact someone. Someone's going to get impacted by this. So don't just say, oh, it's a fish storm, it's not going to impact anyone. Because if it turns north soon enough, this has a impact on Bermuda, and it could be very significant. And it's just as important as showing you all. Oops, what happened with the halves? Okay, the halves model is actually rendering. Darn it. Wasn't able to get to the hurricane models in today's discussion. But you can believe me, folks, that this is going to become a major hurricane with winds that are Category 4 intensity. I'm being honest here. I can't get to it. It's not letting me select other model runs, unfortunately. I wish it would. But I can't select. That's why I'm going to make an evening video tonight. Probably will be released at 6 or 7 o'clock to better diagnose these models very well. I just can't look at them at all, and probably no one either can't, unless you made your video in time. But this is the latest information, which is the best news that I can give you all in today's video. So sea surface temperatures, a big concern with this, all right? And let me zoom in on this so you all can see that a little bit better. That if we look at the sea surface temperatures, this is where our system pretty much is. So it's underneath or it's overhead of 29 Celsius waters. Water temperatures could warm up into the 30 Celsius, perhaps even 31 Celsius over here, which is exceptionally warm. So as you know, the system is going to be moving in this general direction, and it is going to be moving over some exceptionally warm, record warm sea surface temperatures that will allow explosive intensification with this at an unimaginable rate. So let's see here. Let's see, making sure I got the latest guidance. Did we? All right, so this is a look at... So this is a look at, again, at the intensity forecast. And once again, these waters right here along the path are very conducive. Absolutely. And that's why they're calling this to become a Category 4 hurricane. I mean, look at this. This is a Category 2, Category 4. So they're skipping one category here. So really explosive intensification is forecasted. But that's not all I'm going to show you in today's video. Here's the latest look at the spaghetti plot from... It literally went out on us. Give me the latest data. There you go. The 12Z is out. And yeah, look at this. This is the UK Met, and this brings it really close to the islands. No joke about it at all. Spaghetti plots are right down the center here, indicating that this is going to pass safely away from the islands. But again, this could shift. This is not your forecast. Please understand that, folks. This is just guidance. This is just telling me that, hey, this is where the system could be based on where it's at right now. If this heads in this general direction, even so, it does this. This is going to bring the islands, or the islands will get impacted. If this moves towards, it could still impact, say, Martinique, if you're on Guadeloupe, if you're on some of these other islands. I mean, if it doesn't move exactly where it's supposed to move, this could mean all the difference. So there is still wiggle room for our track guidance. This is a look at the GEFS forecast. Let me bring up the latest here on this. By the way, a link to this website will be in the description, and we don't have the latest GEFS spaghetti plot out, unfortunately. I wish we had that, but we don't have it in today's video. But what we do have, actually we'll use this. I'm not going to refresh this. This is a look at the GEFS forecast, and you can see a lot of clustering here. And still, some of these members bring it really close. And that's why, right now, for the time being, there is still a 10 to 20% chance that you could still get impacted by a tropical storm or hurricane specifically, because this member right here brings it really close. And these are different what-if scenarios. I want you all to kind of understand that just because, oh, the operational, which is the red line, okay, that's only one model put together with all these other ensembles. Some of them bring it north, some of them bring this south. and there will be changes, so we should start seeing a trend to the further south, I believe, because this is not gaining as much latitude as it should be, but I could be wrong too. That's why stay tuned for the latest forecast. Looking at the latest model intensity guidance here, this is the 12Z output on 95L, and it explicitly shows a category 4. In fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 models indicate that this will become a category 4 hurricane, with only a couple of these models, actually only one model indicating a major hurricane. You typically expect that to be the GFS model. It only goes crazy when it wants to, while the CMC is very low end, only a Cat 1, which is way too generous. And then the UK Met, I don't understand. That's very generous with a tropical storm, which is probably one of the reasons why it wants to bring it very close to those islands. All right, so but either way, this right here is very concerning. This is from the HAFS A, HAFS B, and HMON. 3 of these models explicitly show a Category 5 hurricane, which in the rules of books here, if it all comes to be correct, this has a ceiling that is a Cat 5 with winds that could max out. And I've seen some of the more bullish forecasts that want this up to 200 miles an hour, which would be absolutely devastating. If this even missed the islands in within, say, about 40 or 50 miles, there would be tropical storm force winds hitting those islands of the of Puerto Rico, the British Virgin Islands, St. Kitts and Nevis. It won't matter very much. This could be one of the record books, perhaps, and I don't like using that as in a hyping term, but we got to be aware of this, and that's why I'm going to be making updates on this today, one more this afternoon. So looking at the statistical hurricane intensity prediction system, which stands for SHIPS for short. If you didn't get that, statistical hurricane intensity prediction system, and this is the 12Z output, and these are different panels that I look at. See, I got some new information to share with you all. The first box that I want to show you is the maximum potential intensity here, that yields basically how strong can the winds get with this, and we have it all the way up to 180 knots. That is the max potential here within the next 5 days. This is not saying that it's going to become that strong, but this is putting everything together. Light shear, lots of moisture, lots of upper ocean heat content, very warm sea surface temperatures. This is what could end up happening. So this has a high ceiling here for a Category 5, and I want to just let you all know, anything in this box and higher, oh wait, this is in knots. So yeah, anything is straight up Cat 5 right now. So that's for sure. Shear is going to be very light, generally under 10 knots for the most part. Sea surface temperatures down here in this box that I have will be generally right around 29.5 to 31 Celsius. Moisture values definitely rich out there, 60 to 70%. Upper ocean heat content very favorable for this system. So there is nothing that I see that would prevent a Category 5 hurricane. For right now, the NHC is very generous. I mean generous, and I could even show you their NHC forecast here really quickly before closing out the video. Is that I want to kind of highlight a paragraph. If I can go and zoom this in. So let's kind of look at this a little more closely. Okay, let's see here. All right, so I want to highlight this. The NHC intensity forecast is extremely bullish for a first forecast, but remarkably lies below the intensity consensus. So that means most of the intensity guidance is calling this to become a Category 5 hurricane. Now, the chances of that occurring are much higher than, say, 2 days ago, because we have more information today. So all indications are that the depression will become a strong hurricane by the end of the forecast period. So there's a lot of indications that that will actually occur. All right, so before ending the video, I wanted to just do a overview on what we talked about, because again, that's my job, is making sure I did what I can for you all. Unfortunately, we did not get the hurricane models out in time with this video, but that's why there's always room for fixing, and that will happen in this evening's video where we'll go into more in-depth perception on this system. But otherwise, if you did like today's discussion, please consider subscribing, sharing, and liking, and I'll be back with you this evening. Mark your calendar right around 5 or 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, where I will have another update on this system, because this is very urgent. We need to keep you all updated. All right, share, like, and subscribe.